The moment the gun rose, the street seemed to hold its breath, and so did everyone watching. A mafia boss's son stood trembling with power he didn't fully understand, his finger tight, his eyes locked on a quiet man who had stepped in front of a veterinarian and her trembling dog. The metal gleamed, danger thickened the air, and no one noticed the subtle shift in the protector's stance, the calm that didn't belong to ordinary fear. What the armed young man didn't know, what no one knew yet, was that this stranger had survived places where fear went to die, and in the next seconds, everything was about to change in ways no one could predict. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing what's right, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel called Kind Vibes, where stories like this remind us who we can be. The street was narrow and worn, the kind that carried old footsteps and older secrets. Arya Kincaid had just finished a long shift at the animal clinic, her shoulders heavy with exhaustion and compassion spent on too many suffering creatures. Her dog, a rescued shepherd mix named Rowan, stayed close to her leg, still learning that the world could be safe. They had parked farther away than usual, the clinic lot full, and Arya felt the familiar tension that came with walking alone after dark. She did not notice the black car idling too long, or the way a shadow detached itself from the alley until it was too late. Luca Moretti, raised on stories of power and obedience, stepped into her path with the reckless confidence of someone used to fear bending for him. Before Arya could process what was happening, Rowan sensed the threat and stiffened, a low warning rumble building in his chest. Luca reacted with irritation rather than caution, his temper flaring as it always did when something didn't immediately submit. That was when a man moved between them, not fast enough to draw attention, not slow enough to be accidental. Jonah Cross looked like anyone else passing through the city, jacket worn, face lined by years of sun and responsibility. He placed himself in front of Arya and her dog as if it were the most natural thing in the world, his body angled just enough to shield without provoking. Luca's pride couldn't tolerate interference. The gun appeared as an extension of his ego, meant to restore the balance he believed was his birthright. The street went quiet, the kind of silence that presses against the ears. Arya froze, her heart pounding so hard it felt visible, her hand clutching Rowan's collar as fear threatened to unravel her composure. Jonah remained steady, his breathing controlled, his eyes not pleading or challenging, just present. Years earlier, he had learned how panic spreads and how calm can stop it if held long enough. Jonah's past was not something he carried on his sleeve. He had once worn different colors, served in places marked by sand, salt, and smoke, where protecting others was not a choice but a duty drilled into muscle and mind. After leaving the Navy SEALs, he had tried to disappear into ordinary life, taking small jobs, avoiding attention, choosing quiet acts of decency over medals. Yet some instincts never leave, and when he saw Arya cornered, he did not think about consequences or recognition. He thought only about distance, angles, and time. The tension stretched as Luca's hand shook, anger mixing with uncertainty. He had expected fear, not this unmovable calm. People like Jonah were unfamiliar to him, not impressed by names or threats. Arya's thoughts spiraled, memories of animals she couldn't save flooding her mind, the unbearable idea that Rowan might be hurt because of her. In that suspended moment, the world narrowed to the space between the gun and Jonah's chest, a fragile line where lives balanced. Something shifted then, subtle but decisive. Jonah adjusted his footing, grounding himself, making it clear without words that he would not move. The confidence unsettled Luca, cracking the illusion of control he had always relied on. Bystanders began to notice, phones half raised, whispers rippling. The presence of witnesses chipped away at Luca's bravado, reminding him that consequences existed beyond his father's reach. Fear crept in where dominance had been, and with it came hesitation. The arrival of flashing lights at the end of the street broke the spell. Someone had called for help, and reality rushed back in. Luca lowered the gun, not out of mercy, but out of self-preservation, retreating into the shadows he came from. The danger receded as quickly as it had formed, leaving behind shaking hands and unsteady breaths. Jonah finally turned to Arya, checking her and Rowan with the same care he once gave wounded teammates, ensuring the crisis had truly passed. Afterward, as statements were taken and the crowd dispersed, Arya learned only fragments about the man who had protected her. She saw the weariness in his eyes, the kindness that didn't seek credit. Rowan pressed against Jonah's leg, sensing safety, and for the first time since his rescue, wagged his tail without reservation. In that small gesture, Arya felt something inside her heal, a reminder that bravery still existed in quiet forms. If this story is touching your heart right now, if you feel that swell of hope that kindness can still stand up to cruelty, please pause for a moment to like the video and share it so more people can feel this too. Jonah walked away before thanks could turn into attention, blending back into the city he protected in unseen ways. Arya returned home changed, carrying a renewed belief that strangers could become shields and that courage didn't always announce itself. The street returned to normal, but its memory lingered, a testament to what happens when one person chooses to stand firm. Before this story ends, I want to ask you to comment below and share what you would have done in Jonah's place, or how this moment made you feel.